Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're going to be doing my top 10 commanders to build for Bloomburrow. So these are all different commanders that I am incredibly excited for. They're not necessarily going to be the strongest or most effective, but some of them could get absolutely cracked. They're just the ones that I love the look of and look to be the most fun. These are all my opinions, so you guys might agree, might not. You know, there's some honorable mentions at the end, which are going to be some that look good but aren't, you know, that are going to be quite strong, but I'm just not that interested in them. But I want to kind of talk about them so that way you guys got some idea on some stronger ones that I don't have on this list. Before we get into it though, again, make sure you do please subscribe, like the channel, share, all that kind of stuff. It helps out so much. So the first one here is the infamous Cruclaw, which we did a video on, I believe, and he just looks bonkers fun. I'm so incredibly excited to build him. I want to build him as like a mixture between like a Voltron and a big mana deck. Now I know there's some people who have kind of and looked at him and they're like, if I just, you know, run a whole bunch of lands and then Worldfire or something like that, then just, you know, win by that. I don't like that way of winning. You know, more the fun. It's like a fun, cheesy deck for sure. But I would rather build him as kind of like a big Voltron deck, right? Where I go and attack, I get another, you know, sword for him. I get another, you know, something to be able to help him go around or something like that. And then we can add some big mana cards in there as well to kind of add in more cheesiness, to kind of like, you know, cheat out some big stuff, some fun stuff, that kind of thing. Kind of like you could build him as like a dumb Eldrazi commander or something, where you deal combat damage and then all of a sudden you're bringing out like something silly, and then the discarded cards, you can add like some madness stuff in there. So you're discarding some madness, or, you know, some kind of black resurrection. There's lots of different ways you could potentially build him that just look really fun. The next is Balin, which, no surprise to my friend John Jackson, as soon as I saw him, I was like, yep, no, I'm building him. He looks really fun. It's like a big kind of tokens go wide deck where you're kind of building this huge army of just Naya. He's like the most Naya commander you can probably ever think of, because, you know, he's doing everything that Naya loves to do. He goes big, he draws cards, he, you know, adds mana to you, and, like, you know, just create a huge amount of tokens and stuff. But you don't need to necessarily build him that way. You could build him like treasure and like go tall and kind of make use of the fact that you could tap your treasures to make him grow bigger and stuff, instead of just building like, you know, creatures up and stuff. You can go really kind of tall with him and do some really fun stuff that way. Next is Ygra, Eater of All, and no surprise, I think that going wide is fun with her as well. Create a bunch of food, because all of your creatures then become foods, and then you can sack your creatures, and there's lots of benefits for doing that. So like an aristocrat style deck could suit really well. And then also making other people sacrifice stuff, so because they're sacrificing stuff, then they're sacrificing foods, and then you're getting buffed up more. Lots of cool ways you could potentially do that. We've got Vren. Vren is just rats, but with control. So just a control flavoring on top of your rats. Lots of rats tokens, just creates more rats, just exile things so people can't kill them, control their things, destroy, you know, all of their creatures out, and then all of a sudden your Vren's out and you've got like, you know, 50 different 1/1 rats that are all buffed up and stuff. Lots of cool ways to make a whole bunch of rats really, really easily from that. As well as the fact that because it's at the beginning of each end step, you can do it on enemies' turns, so you can wipe out their board on their turn with instants and stuff, and then you're getting rats from it anyway. We've got Luge, the Shoreless Sea, which I did another video on, which I think could potentially be a CEDH commander. So he's very much a spell slinger. Albeit, like, you can do so much stuff with like cantrips and cheating stuff out because of the fact that it's the first instance or sorcery you cast each turn, not just on your turn. You can do lots of cool cantrips on other people's turns, and, you know, get like, you know, a whole bunch of instants in there, do them on enemies' turns, and then you're still getting that discount on their turn. And because you've got like, you know, a whole bunch of this stuff, you can do a lot of controlling your enemies and counter spells. You can get like, you know, free counters constantly from it as well. We've got Alania, which I think is the best otter commander this like you know, this set, which people are going to disagree with because Bria exists, and I just like Alania more. Bria is probably stronger, which we'll talk about in a bit, but I think Alania is just better. I like Alania more. I just love her. She's just really fun and really interesting. Camalia, you've got squirrels, you've got food, combine squirrels and food, just make more squirrels, make more food. You know, there's stuff like Witch's Oven where you sacrifice a creature, create a food, and then you've got, you know, you can sack your foods and create creatures. Lots of great ways to kind of make use of this, and lots of combos, especially with Ygra as well. We've got Mr. Foxglove to go, like, is in the Miss Bumbleflower precon, and I love her and I love him as well. I think that him combined with the Deep Clue C precon, he's an amazing commander because you could just draw a whole bunch of cards, and then as you draw more and more cards, you can then cheat bigger and bigger things in, because it's just put a creature card onto the battlefield. So if you've got like a Ulamog sitting in your hand, you might not be able to cast it, but as long as, you know, you've got this, then boom, you can potentially do stuff from there. You could do this like with wheels as well to reset other people's hands, and a lot of card draw for yourself. We've got Arthur, who's basically like a fairer Winota. So when him and one other creature attack, you look at the top 6 cards of your library, put one onto the battlefield attacking. So you've got like, you know, Blink and ETBs that you can do with this. You've got potentially like a Night Tribal you could do as well in Jeskai colors. To kind of run a whole bunch of knights alongside him and get a lot of knight value from out of him. He is obviously a knight. He's got haste as well, which is really good. So you could do lots of really cool stuff with him as well. And then we've got Miss Bumbleflower, who is obviously the only one in here that I've got up, which is an actual commander from one of the precons. Not to say the other precon commanders aren't good as well, but I just like her the best out of them, and I like some of the other legendaries more than her. So she's obviously built around group hugs, but you can also build her, which is the most fun I have seen people doing with her. It's just wheels and decking people out, because with this and going like storming off and then getting a lot of people drawing cards constantly, you can get people to draw their whole decks, and then they need to draw another card and boom, they lose. Really, really interesting, really funny. You could also just build her like +1/+1s, right? Like you cast a spell, you get to put +1/+1 onto her. You're in green, you can double this up, you could, you know, do lots of great things with her. Or you could just build her as rabbits, like a rabbit tribal deck would be very interesting with her as well. All right, so for the honorable mentions in here, we've got Wick, who is a rat commander, but also does stuff with snails. And I love the idea of him being like that inevitable snail that is slowly following you, but if it touches you, it dies. You can sack that snail, throw it at someone's face. My brother's building this deck. I personally am not a huge fan of it, but I know that other people will, so I wanted to kind of bring him up. Maha, it's Feathers Knight, is a very interesting commander. I'm not a huge fan of it, especially because the best way to kind of take advantage of this is run any of the things that are like all creatures get -1/-1, or, you know, that kind of thing, which I just find like, sorry, all creatures go down to base toughness 1, or yeah, all of them get -1 toughness or whatever. It's just too cheesy for me. I'm not a huge fan of it, but there's some people who will like it. Makes it so that your enemies can't play any kind of creatures, which is funny. And then we've got Bria as well, which I think is probably going to be the strongest spell slinger and strongest otter commander. But again, I'm just not a huge fan of it compared to Alania. If Alania didn't exist, then Bria would definitely be up there. Giving all your creatures prowess is so strong, right? Like, I have a few decks that this needs to go in, especially my, what is it? Riku of the Many Paths. This is going to easily go into that because it's going to give all of my creature tokens in that prowess as well. Even if it was non-token creatures, that would be not quite as strong, but giving all creatures prowess is... oh, that's crazy. And then making it so they can't get blocked as well is very cool. And then we've got obviously the 2 last face commanders. These ones here are ones that I do find interesting, and they kind of just missed out on the list, but they are very strong and can go really, really, really decently well. I just don't like them as much as the other ones, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to build their precons. I'm getting all the precons, I'm going to build them up, and I'm very excited to see what people do with these commanders. But overall, like the top 10 I've got there, I just think are the ones that I like the most. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What commanders are you looking to build from Bloomburrow? Is there one on this list that you're looking to build, one that I've convinced you is really good? Or, you know, is there no commanders from Bloomburrow that you're interested in? Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Have a great day and goodbye.